guys, thank you so much for joining us today. It is great to see some familiar faces from the last session and some new guys as well. So thank you for taking the time to join us. Christy is going to deliver a fabulous session all about the psychology of sustainable behaviour, all about behaviour change, getting people to actually turn that kind of ideas into action and kind of get going with things. Just a little intro. I'm Grace. I'm founder of GSI. GSI is a sustainability platform focused on helping hotels to communicate their sustainability message, whether that's internal teams, external teams, automating that out into RFPs, reporting, whatever it might be. We kind of see ourselves as a central hub of information for all of your sustainability data, and then we feed it out to wherever that might need to go. So very keen to kind of follow on with any conversations if you're interested in learning more. But that's enough about me, and I shall hand over to Chrissy.
Oh, thank you so much, Grace. It's lovely to be here, and I feel like I know quite a lot of you guys already. But in case you're new, my name is Chrissy Beck. I am the founder of World's Better. We are a sustainability consultancy that specialises specifically in the live events industry. So I delivered events for a long old time, about 23 years. And then towards the end of my delivery career, just started to get disheartened by how unsustainable the events industry truly was. And so set up World's Better about 3 years ago now in order to support the events industry towards a more sustainable future. And we do lots of different pieces of work, whether that's certifications like B Corp or ISO 14001 or ISO 20012. We do lots of auditing, whether that's at a company level for businesses to help understand what their sustainability performance is and where they can focus their efforts in order to improve their performance. We do lots of workshopping and training and consultancy on large scale events as well. And we've worked on things like COP28 out in Dubai, AI Safety Summit, and we do quite a lot of work with people like UK Sport and also corporate. So a real breadth of consultancy experience, and I'm really pleased to be here today alongside Grace to deliver a piece on behaviour change, which is such a key part of getting buy-in and to try and transition into more sustainable behaviours. So firstly, this is what we're going to cover. We're going to talk about what we mean by influencing sustainable behaviours. We're going to talk about why that matters in sustainability, and we're going to look at whose behaviour we're trying to change when we're thinking about the events industry, but also the kind of venue and hotel spectrum as well. And then we're going to think about how we can approach those different audiences to influence better behaviours. And then we're going to end with a very short activity. And I am aware that we've only got 25 minutes to go, and I am going to talk quite quickly. So I hope everyone is going to keep up. We are going to do a few Slido quizzes as we go, and we're going to start very soon with our first one. So grab your phones, and I encourage as much participation as possible. Pop yourselves on mute, but if you do have a question as we're going, just take yourselves off. I'm hoping I'll have a little bit of time towards the end for questions, but also feel free to add them in the chat. Although I tend to get very into what I'm saying, so I might not be looking at the chat, but go ahead and just answer any questions that come up along the way. So let's start off by thinking about what we mean by influencing sustainable behaviour. So grab your phone and scan the QR code at the top left, and you'll be given a link that will take you over to Slido. And I want you guys to tell me what you think we mean when we say influencing sustainable behaviour. And your responses should start appearing soon. We've got 3 participants typing. We've got 4 now, so feel free to add 1 or 2 comments if you want to. Getting people to act sustainably, yeah, absolutely. That is what it's all about. Getting people to make sustainable decisions and guiding them towards those decisions. Oh, we've got 8 people typing now, exciting. Make people be conscious, not just at home and at work, but also on their travels. Absolutely, yeah. Making people decide based on social and environmental impacts. Yes. Educating our teams so they know why it's important. All of these are absolutely right. Helping with actions and directions to people to make sustainable decisions, encouraging sustainable behaviour, that's exactly right. Educating people, bingo. Encouraging people to make more sustainable and responsible choices, not necessarily by telling them what to do, but moving them towards those actions with communications that resonate. Bingo, that's almost like the definition of it. Communication to guide sustainable practices, impacting behaviour, allowing people to understand the impact of sustainable behaviours. This is great. So look, we're seeing people and behaviour over and over again in all of those responses. So yeah, all of those are pretty much bang on right. So what do we mean by influencing sustainable behaviour? Let's look at some of those comments that we had and also the ones that we believe are what influencing sustainable behaviour means. So really it's about shifting mindsets, about shifting habits and decisions. And that could be across any stakeholder group, whether that's your client, whether that's internal teams, whether that's your delegates, collaborators, whoever that might be, so that sustainable practices become the norm and not the exception. And that could look like lots of different things. So it could be guiding your clients towards better choices. And you can do that by guiding clients towards lower impact decisions like sustainable catering options, or choosing or pointing them towards preferred and vetted sustainable suppliers to use. It's also about challenging business as usual behaviours, and that could be through questioning habitual practices like single-use amenities. It could be excessive food ordering, or even unnecessary room servicing, things like that count as those kind of business as usual behaviours. It's also about encouraging sustainable decisions across the delegate journey. That could be reducing laundry in hotel rooms, it could be sourcing locally, or it could be using low carbon materials for things like menus. There's lots of different choices that you can make and lots of sustainable decisions that you can choose across that delegate journey. It's also about designing systems and spaces that make it easy to act sustainably. That could be bringing in digital signage across internal spaces that can be used again and again and negate the need for printed materials. It could be having visible waste segregation stations for general recycling, glass, food waste, etc. Or it could be refillable water stations. You're aiming to make sustainable actions easy and obvious. It could also look like creating emotional connection and accountability. So by sharing your company's sustainability vision or your ambitions, you're sharing your story openly. That buys you in, and your actions and your initiatives are made really clear and are very impactful. And then lastly, it's about shifting from compliance to culture. And you do that through communications, through staff training, communicating those clear values, and having an aligned supplier network. And you can start to embed sustainability across your ways of working and lead by example. But ultimately, your goal is pretty simple. It's making sustainable behaviours feel normal, feel expected and rewarding, and repeatable. And that's for your clients, for your teams, for your audiences, your delegates, everyone involved. So why does behaviour matter in sustainability? Now, sustainability isn't just about systems, it's about people. It's about human behaviour that bridges the gap between intention and real world impact. And that could be from how we travel, to what we consume, to how we dispose of waste, etc. Our everyday choices are where sustainable change happens. And small actions really do scale up. One person's decision might seem insignificant, but if you multiply that by hundreds of delegates, tens of suppliers that you might have, and even your internal team of staff, suddenly those carbon and resource savings, they scale up. This intention to action gap. Now, we know what's right, but we don't always do it. And this psychological disconnect is called the intention to action gap. And it's one of the biggest barriers to progress in sustainability. There is a statistic that between 70 and 80% of people say they care about sustainability, but only a fraction of them will change their day-to-day habits, like, reusable cups, avoid flights, switch suppliers, things like that. And that isn't due to a lack of care. It's because of this cognitive and social barrier and the habits that you have and the perceived inconvenience or lack of feedback. And then ultimately, this is about cultural change. And when sustainability shifts from being a checklist item to something embedded in daily behaviour, it becomes a shared value. And that's where lasting and long-term systemic transformation can begin. Now, understanding what motivates people to act sustainably or how to avoid it requires diving into a few key psychological concepts. And these drivers underpin everyday decision making and are critical if we want to influence meaningful and lasting change. So, the first is social norms and peer influence. People are deeply influenced by what they perceive others to be doing. So, social proof of that is like most people in your neighbourhood recycle. And this has been shown to increase compliance more effectively than logic or guilt. The next is cognitive dissonance and biases. And when people's actions don't align with their values, it creates a psychological discomfort. And this dissonance can lead to behaviour change or rationalisation like, oh, it's just one flight. My one flight doesn't really matter in the great scheme of things. Habit formation and default bias is another. So much of our behaviour is habitual and it's automatic. We get used to behaving a certain way and it's difficult for us to move away from that. So once sustainable behaviours become easy defaults, like choosing higher percentages of healthy vegetarian catering options on your menus for your events, they don't require conscious effort. And people are more likely to go with a preset option. So if we make sustainable choices, the default wherever possible, we're more likely to succeed. Next is identity and values. So people want their actions to align with who they are, what their identity is. If someone sees themselves as a responsible parent or a conscious consumer, they're more likely to make sustainable choices. And then lastly is this intrinsic versus extrinsic motivation. Now, intrinsic motivation is acting because it feels right. By saying to yourself, I care about the planet. And extrinsic motivation is about acting because of external rewards or pressures like tax incentives or public recognition. There's a few psychological drivers that help us to understand what type of behaviours and what type of approaches we can put in place in order to address these. So then next, what actions do and don't work? We've tried quite a lot as sustainability consultants for the live events world, and we've seen firsthand which work and which don't. And first on the list of what works is making the sustainable option the default. So people are much more likely to go with default options, or they're much more likely to go with the top option at a menu. So if you were to set plant-based meals as your default at an event or the top option with meat available on request, you're more likely to be successful and you're more likely to have to feed from your menu. This removes decision friction and normalizes greener choices without forcing them. Another one is leveraging social proof and descriptive norms. So here you want to show others like them you want to show people what others like them are doing. So people are influenced by the perceived behaviours of their peers. So a good example, if you're working within a team and you're trying to influence your internal teams to make more sustainable decisions, an example of this could be, most venues in our city now offer a sustainable meeting package. Should we be offering this to? Humans are social creatures. We're wired to conform to what is seen as normal or desirable or even slightly competitive in our group. And then lastly, making sustainability visible and celebrated. And this is about recognition, visibility, and storytelling to help you reinforce behaviours. So some examples of where this could work is spotlighting teams or individuals who've made successful changes, sharing results in engaging formats, whether that's short videos, infographics, sessions like this, or giving awards, whether they're small ones, for sustainability leadership and success stories. And this boosts morale, it motivates others, and embeds behaviour into the organisation's culture. What doesn't work? Now, we've tried quite a lot, like I've mentioned. Information overload tends to not work, especially if you're giving them too much and it's not tangible and relevant for that particular audience. So overloading people with that information, it just doesn't really necessarily equal action. Guilt tripping tends to not really work. So guilt or doom heavy messages can cause action to freeze. And then using a one size fits all messaging just doesn't work. Generic messages can miss the mark. You have different teams, different roles, different audiences that you're trying to communicate these key messages with or trying to influence change with. They need approaching in slightly different ways. So next, we're going to talk about whose behaviour we are trying to change. I'm going to ask you to get your phones out again because I want to hear what you think the audience is. Whose behaviour are you in particular trying to change? And think about all of the different stakeholders that are involved in you trying to implement sustainability within the business that you, the type of business and the business that you work in. Because it won't just be one type of person, right? There'll be lots of different people, and each of those people will require a slightly different approach. So tell me, each of you guys, whose behaviour we're trying to change. So staff and clients, everyone. Yep, staff and clients is absolutely key one. Internal teams, guests, event planners, corporate clients, absolutely. Yep, yep. Clients, delegates, suppliers, yep. Suppliers is a big one. Suppliers is so key to making the entire supply chain and what you're trying to deliver come to life, and you depend on them to support you with that. All stakeholders, clients, supply chain partners, attendees, delivery teams, exactly. Internal team who understand what we do but won't implement themselves. Yeah, and everyone in our brand ecosystem, big time. Cool. Okay, so we've pretty much got the same ones here. So whose behaviour are we trying to change? Clients, persuading clients to choose sustainable options. We've got delegates or attendees, encouraging delegates to participate responsibly. We've got our suppliers to drive sustainable change across the supply chain. And we've got our internal stakeholders, our team and our staff, implementing sustainable change internally. And you know, this is just for, we did have a few on the last slide, but this is everyone involved essentially, and each of these different groups have their own role to play. Now, I've just picked out 3 of these groups because we could go on forever and ever and ever, and we've only got 10 minutes left. But let's have a little talk through each of these 3 groups and how we could potentially approach each of these groups to try and influence better behaviours. So with clients, we can frame sustainability as a brand enhancement and a competitive advantage. We can use data-driven insights, but not too much, no overloading, relevant data-driven insights to show impact and savings. You can co-create goals with them to build ownership and accountability, provide clear pathways to credible action and not just ambition. Benchmarking across the competition. This is key. We see this getting requested a lot now. So benchmarking against the competition using data wherever you can get it. And alignment with company level sustainability goals and action. That is one of your key bargaining chips. If a client is opting for the least sustainable options and you know they have an ambitious sustainability strategy and goals and net zero roadmap, you can try and align your approach with their overall sustainability goals. So then for delegates and attendees, you want to focus on convenience, clarity and personal impact. How can they help and how can you make it easy for them? Use nudges, and that could be signage, that could be giving them default options or the easy option at the top of a menu, for example, or even incentives to do certain things. Make sustainable choices visible and rewarding. We're working on a project at the moment where on all of the menus at an event we have food steps scoring, which if you haven't come across those, food steps is a way to see what carbon intensity a meal has, ranging from, I think it's A to E, with A being very sustainable, E being not very sustainable. So making those choices visible and offering some sort of reward is a great way to get that buy-in. Telling a compelling story, so connect their choices to a wider purpose. If they do this, how does that contribute? And then prioritizing education and awareness raising. Communication is so key, whether that's pre-event, whether that's during event, or whether that's post-event. There's lots of opportunities to ensure that your delegates are engaged, they know what's going on, and they've got a good awareness of those initiatives on site. And then lastly, suppliers. So integrating sustainability into contractual expectations and obligations, so critical. If you have really specific requirements from your supply chain, you can support them, upskill them with training, give them templates and tools in order to support you with what it is you need from those suppliers, and build long-term partnerships, not one-off transactions. And you could do that through engagement programs, trying to upskill your supply chain to get them aligned with your sustainability ambitions. Recognize and reward their progress, and remember it's progress, not perfection. And then actively opt for suppliers that already demonstrate responsible behaviours. Few quick fire ideas there. So now I'm going to get you guys to pull out your phones one last time. We're going to do 2 quick little activities, challenging choices and behaviours. So I'm going to give you a scenario, and I want you guys to have a think and share your ideas of how you may challenge these behaviours. So the first one is, a team member expresses skepticism about the importance of sustainability in a project meeting. They question whether it's relevant to the project goals and suggest that focusing on environmental social impact is a distraction from core business priorities like budget, efficiency, or client satisfaction. Anyone have any ideas of how we might challenge this based on what we've talked about so far? I can see 3 people have got some ideas. Oh, 7 people have got ideas. Go, go, go. Oh, now it's 6. I put someone off. Oh, it's back to 7. Good, good, good. Benchmark what the competition is doing. Bingo. Excellent. This is what your competitors are doing. You should be doing this to stay in the market. Show the direct links between sustainability and cost effectiveness and operational efficiencies. Bingo. Question sustainability strategy of the business. If they have a strategy, then it should be included in the priority list. Absolutely right. Talk to them one-on-one. Try to get them on side and take them on the journey with you. Love that. Present your business case showing the benefits of how sustainability improves all of the points above. Exactly how sustainability can contribute to cost savings and operational efficiency, and can contribute to client satisfaction. And any way to show the clients are seeking this. And if they don't do this, well, we'll be left behind and lose out. Absolutely great. Every single one of them. There's one more person typing. Never mind. Cool. They've given up. Right. That's all really great answers. Well done, guys. So yeah, absolutely. I'm going to move on. Sorry for who was typing. You weren't quite quick enough. So reframe sustainability as business relevant. So hear your concern. In reality, sustainability is increasingly tied to business performance. Clients are asking for it, regulations are tightening, and it's a key differentiator in tenders and RFPs. Ignoring it could actually put us behind. Second one, emphasize strategic value and not just ethics. So sustainability isn't just about being a nice to have anymore. It's about risk management. It's about resilience and long-term relevance, whether that's rising costs, supply chain risks, or brand trust. It touches all of it. And then lastly, make it about shared goals. Our goal is to deliver great work and be thoughtful about our impact. They're not mutually exclusive, in fact. Sustainable solutions often drive innovation and efficiency. Awesome. Right, we've got time for one more. I'm going to be really quick. You are trying to obtain budget from your senior management team for some sustainability initiatives at your venue or hotel. How might we challenge, or how might we try and influence our senior management team to give us some budget? Try to pick one that I think all of us will end up having to do at some point in our lives. What might we do? The long-term savings, absolutely. Cost efficiencies, whether that's from energy efficiency, waste reduction, whether that's resource savings, absolutely. or people typing. Return on investment, absolutely. Demonstrate ROI, yeah, absolutely. So we've talked a little bit about competitive advantage, whether that's at investor level, whether that's at client level, or whether that's at delegate level. Expectations are rising. You will get more business if you have a good sustainability strategy implemented. Show the benefits and successes that competitors have had. Bingo, case studies. This is what this company did that are similar to us. This is how it worked out. And these were the positives that came from it. Keeping ahead of legislation, that is coming through thick and fast. At the moment, some businesses have to comply with various smaller pieces of legislation, but as the years go on, that is going to change. We are going to have to comply with various pieces of legislation and reporting. And storytelling, success stories, marketing opportunities, absolutely. Yes, right, I'm going to jog on. So I'm going to bring them all up at once. So reframe it as risk and reputation protection. So sustainability isn't a nice to have. It's part of managing brand risk and protecting our reputation. Anchor the value, not the cost. So this isn't just an extra cost, it's a small investment in brand trust, audience alignment, and long-term impact. So, if you use simple framing like this element is less than 1% of the budget and could drive 10 times more positive engagement, for example. For a strategic trade-off. So if budget's tight, let's look at where we can reallocate. Perhaps there's lower impact materials swap or adjusting non-critical elements elsewhere to free up an allowance, but also elevating the storytelling angle. So even if budget for sustainability is small, making those efforts shows your commitments, and it's a powerful story to share. Right, that was a whistle-stop tour. Feel like I spoke a million miles an hour. We have a couple of seconds for questions, but by all means, I am available on email. Here's my email address if you guys have any questions that you want to bring up after the event. Also, I mentioned we are a sustainability consultancy for the live events world. So if there's ever anything that World's Better could be supporting you with, if you are finding that despite all of the things that we've talked about today, you still face quite a lot of intrinsic challenges, then please do get in touch. We would love to help and support. And thank you.
Thank you so much, Chrissy. That was a whistle-stop tour. But blimey, have we learnt a lot in half an hour. Any questions, please feel free to ask anything now. But as Chrissy said, we will share the recordings, we will share our contact details. Please do get in touch with Chrissy for anything in terms of kind of your own sustainability journeys and what's next. And of course, at GSI, we're always here to talk about how we can communicate it. So thank you so much for joining us, and hopefully we shall see you at the next one.